armored vehicles on the streets of Moscow as Russian state media this hour says security measures have been stepped up in Moscow. State media also saying Putin is aware of a situation unfolding around Yevgeny Prigozhin, the chief of the private Wagner army. The situation so serious tonight that state television broke into scheduled programming, broke into it to deliver this message to the Russian people from the Russian Ministry of Defense.
All the messages and video footage spread on social networks on behalf of Yevgeny Prigozhin that the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation allegedly carried out strikes on the rear camps of Wagner PMC is not true and is an informational provocation.
Breaking into programming to tell Russian people not to listen to Prigozhin while armored vehicles are on the streets of Moscow. These developments coming after Prigozhin today essentially declared war on the Russian military because he did. He accused them of deliberately striking his fighters and of killing a, quote, huge amount of them. And then he vowed to punish those who did it.
They saw that we weren't broken, and they launched strikes on our camps. A huge amount of our fighters were killed. Our comrades in arms. We will make a decision about how to respond to these atrocities. The next step is ours.
Wagner mercenary group has released video which appears to show its leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, in the Russian city of Rostov-on-Don. This coming as the Russian government is accusing him of calling for an armed rebellion. Earlier, Prigozhin said his troops had entered the Rostov region from Ukraine and that the Russian military has been joining its fighters as the convoy advances. Videos from the area show military vehicles and personnel in the streets, but it's unclear who's commanding them. Earlier, Prigozhin said that his troops are on what he called a march of justice against the Defense Ministry, which he claims killed many of his mercenaries in a strike.
They saw that we weren't broken, and they launched strikes on our camps. A huge amount of our fighters were killed. Our comrades in arms. We will make a decision about how to respond to these atrocities. The next step is ours.
Now, this video purports to show the site where the strike allegedly happened, but CNN cannot verify its authenticity at the moment.
He's long been a well-known mercenary leader around the world. Now, Yevgeny Prigozhin is a wanted man in Russia as well. His often merciless group of fighters is now pitted against the Russian military leadership, and Prigozhin is suddenly Moscow's public enemy number one. Vladimir Putin calling for Prigozhin's group to lay down their arms.
All those who deliberately chose the path of treachery, who prepared an armed mutiny, who chose the path of blackmail and terrorist methods will face inevitable punishment and will answer both to the law and to our people.
He may now be something of a nemesis to Vladimir Putin, but it was his decades-long relationship with the Russian president that allowed Prigozhin to establish his own militia, the Wagner Group. Wagner served as a private army, doing controversial jobs that often not even Russia's military could do. Prigozhin, a former prisoner himself and self-styled hard man from St. Petersburg, used Wagner to operate around the world. CNN has tracked Wagner mercenaries to the Central African Republic, Sudan, Libya, Mozambique, Ukraine, and to Syria. Along the way, Prigozhin enriched himself. Rights groups have accused Wagner of horrific violence, like this of Wagner fighters allegedly smashing the feet and hands of a Syrian prisoner with a sledgehammer in 2017. The man reportedly died after his ordeal. The images are incredibly disturbing, like so many others attributed to his group. For many years, Prigozhin denied the existence of Wagner, its work best done in secret. A master of myth-making, it was Prigozhin and Wagner who set up the notorious Russian troll farm used to spread disinformation around the 2016 U.S. presidential election. But when his fighters took to the battlefield in eastern Ukraine and began winning battles, Prigozhin seemed to want the spotlight.
The Bakhmut operation began on October 8, 2022, in order to give the battered Russian army an opportunity to recover. Our guys stormed this city for 224 days. There were only Wagner private forces here.
His tactics included flinging poorly armed and poorly trained troops into the so-called meat grinder of war in Ukraine's east, suffering a shocking number of casualties in an attempt to overwhelm defenses. Prigozhin rubbed his victories in the face of Russia's flailing defense department, venting his fury at the haphazardness and ill planning of Russia's illegal invasion, and chastising the Russian top brass, mocking Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu.
Вы думаете о том, что вы...
You think you are the masters of this life? You think you can dispose of their lives? You think because you have warehouses full of ammunition that you have that right?
Now, the Kremlin's secret weapon may be its biggest threat. For Plagin, CNN, Berlin.
Well, I'm told that the White House is actively monitoring this unfolding situation inside of Russia, a very delicate situation. I'm told that President Biden has indeed been briefed on that situation inside of Russia. And I also have this statement from the National Security Council spokesman Adam Hodge, who says, quote, "We are monitoring the situation and will be consulting with allies and partners on these developments." Now, two other administration officials tell me that White House officials will continue to closely monitor what is happening inside of Russia, and they are being cautious as of Friday not to weigh in too much on the situation until it becomes clearer exactly what is happening between the Russian mercenary leader Yevgeny Prigozhin and the Russian Ministry of Defense. But whatever the situation, there are obviously enormous implications for these tensions inside of Russia. The U.S. has long been monitoring those tensions between the Wagner mercenary group and the Russian Ministry of Defense. Of course, both of those sides have been sanctioned by the United States for their role in Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And we do know that the Wagner mercenary group has played an increasingly key role in the Russian military war effort inside of Ukraine. So certainly on Friday, this was a very tense and unfolding situation that the White House is going to be continuing to be monitoring. Jeremy Diamond, CNN, the White House.